Minute 32. Okay, last game I spoke about part of the power of the strategy that Eric used was that it was so difficult to spot. At this point in the game, the Wisp is just coming into Eric's base. He sees no barracks. I think he's going to see that war mill, and he sees the voodoo lounge. So right away, Check knows that Eric's doing something strange. He builds a Hunter's Hall. I don't understand why he went with the Hunt build when he saw that. I mean, hey, his call. He's Check, I'm not. But I personally believe archers are better versus these fast tech type strategies, and the war mill does definitely indicate fast tech. So you see the first thing Check does, other than getting his circle up into dust, and the great thing about being in Demon, you don't even need one more because you take so little damage. He heads straight to Eric's base, and he knows the thing about these fast tech strategies, they usually involve delaying the racks on the second burrow. So he's going to come into Eric's base when he only has a burrow. They can one burrow for at least 11, maybe 12, 13 peons. So obviously he's going to be able to do some serious damage to his economy. Just by forcing several of those peons into the burrow. They're not mining lumber. And this goes very well for Check, I think. And I think Eric made a mistake in creeping first instead of going straight to Demon and defending his base. He would have been able to mine a lot more lumber this way. And these strategies are very dependent on how much lumber you get, obviously, because you're skipping tier 1 burn-up grunts to defend you. And I mentioned earlier that Orc towers are terrible defensively, but here you're going to see a game where they're used defensively. And I think personally Check could have done a lot of things differently to win this game. He doesn't win the game, but whatever, I'll point that out as the game goes on. But anyways, he doesn't have very much lumber as Eric because of that demon harass. And he is forced to build 2 towers now. I'm sure he's going to build them anyway, but because he only has 1 burrow up, especially he needs towers to defend himself. And looking back at Check's base, he's got 1 archer and he's teching. So I mean, I guess the Hunter's Hall was just for APs at tier 2, perhaps, because he's not worried about bats. Who knows? Very possible. This opening, by the way, I mentioned bats. This is probably what elves fear most when they see this opening. Not enough player, but there are enough towercraft replays in WCR that if you see this on ladder, you're going to assume the person you're up against is hacking, first of all, and second of all, is going to build mass bats on you, which is actually a pretty good strategy for self. I think it's a terrible strategy for every other race, but for self, it's a pretty strong strategy. Because once those towers go up, it's so difficult for elf with so many unarmored units to take them out. At least if you have fortified towers, which is part of what this strategy is going to revolve around. I digress. So anyways, Check's DC is about you sent to tier 2, whereas Eric has already reached tier 2 and is training 2 beach series. He only has 30 food worth of burrows, sort of 2 burrows really in his main hall, which is not unusual. That's fairly useless until you're actually going to build an army. But it does show you that he's probably going to be going tier 3 before he gets a substantial army. And then another strange thing that Eric does, which obviously Check can't see but we can, is that he builds, that Eric does, is he builds a Shadow Hunter. And usually with these fast tech strategies, because you're not going to have too many units to creep with, you choose not to build a second hero, which is fair. If you're, towercraft and you don't have any micro whatsoever, you probably choose not to build the second hero because it's just too much to micro. But it's also a wise decision not to build the second hero because it's going to split up the experience between the Blade Master and the Shadow Hunter, and there's not going to be very much experience to go around. And one of the ideal situations in this strategy is the Blade Master hits 6, you buy an Invul Pot and a Mana Pot, and the next time there's a fight outside of one of your bases that's towered to hell, you Blade Storm and take out the entire ranged army in 30 seconds. And obviously that involves getting the Blade 12 to 6 as fast as possible. So anyways, Raiders coming out first. Not a bad idea, actually. I was really surprised to see Raiders instead of Wyverns or Bats first. But the more I think about it, actually a pretty smart decision, just because you know that your tech's faster than theirs, so you can actually successfully harass their base a little bit, pillage some resources off of them, whatever. What the Blade Master is doing now is he's scouting for an expansion. Eric doesn't have a map hack, so he doesn't know that Check hasn't built an expansion along the sides, and he's planning on expanding it tier 2. Which is another reason that if you have a map hack, this strategy is so much easier and so much less skill dependent, let's say, because you can so easily tell what your opponent's doing and just build what it takes to counter it. For example, if they're playing a tower rush on you, you already see their tower rush coming long before it's actually coming, so you build barracks in the back of your base and start pumping demolishers before you can get there. All of a sudden, you have a very good chance of winning the game. So Check gets a nice surround off on the Blade Master and forces him out. Yeah, believe it or not, it is possible to surround the Blade Master. Actually a pretty good idea as well. Now Check, you'll see that Wisp that just scouted Eric's base. It's going to start, you see it's just kind of chilling right outside its base. If you look at Check's army, he's going to push. This is an example of if you had a map hack, you might be building an extra tower right now, might be preparing a little bit better for what's about to happen. You definitely go cancel this Ancient of Wonders, which is building right outside of Eric's base, and it's a really good move on Check's part, I think, to build that there. And you're going to see why. But anyways, Eric is conservative, good for him. He's only got 2 towers. So it is actually possible to push him with an army, that is, because those 2 towers really aren't going to do too much damage, especially not to the demon. And even if it does, then pretty much notice the potion of greater healing, which is obviously a very nice drop. You'll see even with 5 peons repairing, that tower died incredibly quickly. Really not very good defensively. And now he's got some Wyverns. Wyverns are great DPS wise, so like it's like trap. Like they're very good at trapping the enemy base and forcing to use that pot. But if they can safely get their shots off, Wyverns are great. As you can see, the archers have the percent range, and that tower is just going to die so quickly. Even though people repairing it, just died very fast. You'll see 30 food, 4 food for Eric, 39 food for Check. Check is being aggressive, and really there's not too much. It's a really good idea, by the way, to take out the lounge. That's the Orc's only form of healing with this strategy, especially with the low level Shadow Hunter. And even if it wasn't high level, the Shadow Hunter around, so it's probably not going to have too much mana. So a really wise move and great timing on Check's part to harass when he is harassing. It would be even better if he was doing this while he was putting up an expansion. Because this is a way to ensure that, and I think this is something that Check really should have done just before he attacked, is if you can expand before this happens, then you pretty much ensure that the expansion is going to go up and protect it from order to protect your range of war. And then you're really safe. One thing I should mention, all of these Orc Tech Tier 3 strategies for self are all very reliant on the Orc getting an expansion of fortified towers. Yeah, it's true that a bloodlusted Tauren army with demolishers with burning oil are going to take out dots really easily, but without an expansion you are never ever going to get that army. The best you can do really is a Tauren Walker, I guess. Even then, dots are really going to be superior. At least 1 line versus 1 line. So again, the Orc at some point with this strategy wants that tier 2 expansion. And I emphasize this as much as I can. He wants the tier 2 expansion, or tier 3 expansion, but he wants an expansion with fortified towers. And the great thing about fortified Orc towers, they are pretty imbalanced, I have to say, at least for self. Once they're up, there's pretty much nothing you can do as elf to take them out. I mean, yeah, you could build mass bears, and then, rejuvenate your demon hunter and rejuvenate your bears and attack like that. But then you're countering the towers and not the army, and the Orc can have, mass bats attacking your base, or a massive burn army attacking your bears. So it's really hard, once the towers go up, it's really, really hard for elf to take out the expansion. And really, your best bet as elf is just to play the, I'm going to out-expand you game, or I'm going to choke out your, maybe you're allowed 1 expansion, but that's it, 1 expansion, I'm going to have 2 expansions. Because once Orc gets that expansion up, the cool thing about it is you can have, you can stay at 50 food, really. and bank. Bats are really cheap and really low food, so you can have a sizable bat army attacking his base or attacking his expansion and constantly forcing him to play defensively while you're massing up whatever army you want, or banking gold until you can get, Master Torn, Burning, or Master Doctor, Master Blade, Master Shaman, Mass Tauren army I was talking about earlier. So yeah, I think Check, while his initial push was